-1. Hello and welcome to the Tifo Football live stream Champions League event. And I can notice immediately that Seb hasn't turned the volume down on his laptop, hearing my own voice echoing back at me. That, of course, is Sebastian Stafford-Bloor. Welcome, Seb.
Thank you very much. Hello, Joe.
Yes, hello. Also joined today by the purveyor of truth, it is JJ Bull the Bullet. Hello, JJ.
I'm just always right.
In fact, that's one of the things you're not right about. And it's a foursome today, gang. It's a four. For the first time ever. And the last. It's Alex Stewart.
Hello.
Hello there. Now, Alex, that's your microphone there. So if occasionally throughout this evening's stream, if you could, microphone your camera, if you could just look wistfully at that, and producer Don will catch glimpses of that. So yeah, when Seb or JJ saying something boring, just cut to Alex's face. There we go. Alex's face for the last time. Now, of course, we're here today to talk about Real Madrid and Liverpool, the Champions League final. Some might say it was a bit of a surprise. I think everyone in this room sort of thought Real Madrid, maybe we're going to win. But it's hard to say, isn't it, in a room full of people, whether everyone's just kind of saying that because it's the alternative opinion to take or not. But we'll be discussing that at length. Not that long, though, because we all would like to go home.
Don't make it sound off-putting. I mean, we'll talk about it appropriate.
In an interesting way.
Yeah, and in a fun way.
Sure. Now, if you like to talk about things in an interesting and fun way and in an appropriate way, then you should visit The Athletic. That's theathletic.com/Tifo, theathletic.com/Tifo, where you can get a 30-day free trial to talk about things in a fun, interesting, and appropriate way for 30 days or for longer, and I would encourage you to do longer. I can tell you for a fact, without giving away the names of anybody here for fear of not knowing whether that's I'm allowed to or not, there are far more interesting things happening in this building at this very moment than this. So, you're probably watching the wrong thing. But here you are anyway. That's theathletic.com/Tifo. Okay, well, Seb, where should we start? I mean, let's start with what I said before. Good start from me, yeah. Mouth noise so early on. The expectation, I think, from many people was that Liverpool would win, or at least that Liverpool were the better team. As I said, we kind of felt that in this room that Real Madrid had a good chance.
Yeah.
What did you make of it?
So I reckon muscle memory from the rest of the tournament. There's only so many times we can all think Real Madrid are going to get beaten, and then see Real Madrid get outplayed and trust that as a kind of as a guide. And this was, I thought this was actually Real's best performance. If you look back at the games against PSG and Man City and Chelsea, there are periods there. Oh, that's not off-putting at all. Okay, that's really easy to do when you're.
Just keep talking.
I shall keep talking. In all of those games, Real lost control. So they got through as a result of bursts of excellence or Benzema moments or Vinicius. Whereas tonight it felt as if they had a little bit more control. And I know that the narrative will focus on the number of shots Liverpool had, probably ignore the quality of opportunities they created, which wasn't great. Real Madrid always seemed like they were in a kind of comfort zone. I mean, they relied on excellent defending. I think I said about 10 minutes before the end that one of the things I enjoyed most about it was just the quality of the one-on-one defending, the positioning.
Lots of Danny Carvajal stepping out, wasn't there?
Danny Carvajal stepping out. I thought
bold decisions.
Militao was very, very good. Casemiro was excellent. And that tells a story. This wasn't a... Thibaut Courtois was very, very good. This was very measured. It was very strategic. It felt very planned.
Yeah,
fair?
I think so. Alex, you were saying something interesting with about 5 minutes ago. You were looking at the XG as opposed to the number of shots, because the number of shots in this game makes Liverpool look like they were entirely dominant throughout. And there's an argument to talk about whether or not they were, whether or not this is a clash of style versus actual results. The XG tells a little bit of a different story, not quite as extreme.
Yeah, so 2.14 from 24 shots for Liverpool. Real Madrid only had 4 shots but managed 0.88. So much higher quality of chances. Now, part of that is and this obviously all varies on what the XG model is and what it takes into account, but the Vinicius Junior chance would have been very, very high because there were no covering defenders. There was nobody else in the way of that. It implies that Liverpool were taking a lot of shots either from distance or where there were plenty of defenders probably blocking the line of sight. Real Madrid dropping off, crowding that space in front of Courtois. As much as Courtois made some outstanding saves, Real Madrid also created a lot of blocks through their body positioning, and that restricted Liverpool's ability to really work the ball into dangerous areas. that's reflected in the disparity of XG and shots.
Yeah, okay. JJ, a word on this Real Madrid team, because you were just double checking before we went live. Did you say 5 Champions League titles in 10 years?
Yeah.
I know we don't. I know we won't think about this team as one of the best teams ever, and we've had this conversation before. Obviously, thoughts go to Pep Guardiola's Barcelona and teams who have existed before I was born. But also, it's quite hard to argue with that level of result, isn't it?
It's because I think they've not had the same manager all the way through it, and there's been a couple of people who've come and gone. Like Ronaldo's not been in this last 2, is it, or 1? Last 2, whichever it is.
Yeah.
And then there's players who are more involved. Like Marcelo was involved for a lot of I think all the other early ones, but now he's on the bench because he's kind of past it. You've got Kroos and Modric is still there. Obviously, I think Casemiro might have won 2, 3 of them.
Yeah.
Benzema as well. So there's been a few players that have sort of been through there. They've kind of overseen one generation of players and kept them as good as that while they're transitioning into the next group. And then you can see, like all the way through this tournament, in this team, they send on Camavinga and Rodrigo on at about 60, 70 minutes. Today's game they didn't, because they were trying to control it. With
They were
Modric
ahead.
And Kroos and Modric didn't need to, yeah. But then you can see where the next generation of players are coming through. In fact, Alex did a video on Real Madrid in 5 years and what they were going to look like.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
Can I ask you a question, though, about what JJ's saying, Alex? Is one of the reasons you think that maybe we don't consider them one of the greatest or the best team of all time? It's because they also don't have a consistent identity, or that clear an identity beyond the kind of Galactico project. It's quite...
Yeah.
When you think of Barcelona and Pep Guardiola, you think of tiki-taka and all of that sort of cements together in your mind. Whereas with this Real Madrid team, it's a bit more diffuse.
I think that's very true, and I also think it points to something that the media is probably guilty of, which is seizing upon identity and philosophy as something to be admired above just having some really good footballers who are capable of doing some stuff.
I'd call that one of your legacies here at Tifo Football, but I don't know if that's...
Thank you so much. But that is, I think, like JJ says, there have been changes in personnel and management. There's been a relatively intelligent refreshing of the squad throughout, and players have also stepped up. So Sergio Ramos is no longer there, but Militao had a fantastic game, for example. But no, Real Madrid's identity, insofar as it is, because even the Galacticos thing is something they don't really do now. It's just winning.
Yeah.
And they just manage consistently to do that. Yes, there's a mystique around the shirt and the club and all the rest of it, but that was a performance predicated on backs to the wall defending, working incredibly hard. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't sexy. It was driven by organization and commitment, and that's it's not cool, and you can't write really exciting long articles about the philosophy behind it. But if you also have incredibly good footballers, it does work.
Yeah, okay.
You know what's interesting though, because if you look back at those European Cup wins, Real are kind of in it, all of those finals, they were whatever they needed to be to win it. So all of those performances had kind of distinct personalities. So tonight you see the defensive, resilient, we will just be whatever we need to be to resist Liverpool. Like again, in that Juventus final in Cardiff, you survive the ridiculous Mandzukic goal. Against Atletico, you find an equaliser, I think in the 89th or the 90th minute. In the last Liverpool final, you've got Gareth Bale scoring bicycle kicks. You've got Benzema scoring scrappy goals. Like they're kind of... it's like trying to catch the wind. You can't beat them because they don't have a proper shape, and it's I think that's also partly why you don't think of it as an era of dominance, because it's not the same team. It's not the same team in personality, even if the personnel is kind of similar.
What happened there was you were looking at Alex almost the entire time you were saying that, and I was expecting him to respond, but then you looked at me at the end as if you wanted me to say something, and I haven't thought of anything yet.
Well, I was going to Alex because Alex's last show, and it was kind of addressing his point.
Let's all address Alex.
Let us all look at Alex.
don't.
What other questions go? Alex, who was the standout performer in today's game? Thibaut Courtois, obviously.
Yeah, Thibaut Courtois, I think, will get the plaudits. Casemiro's second half was outstanding. Militao, I thought, was really, really good as well. I think also the ability that Modric and Kroos have to, in the rare moments that Real Madrid did have the ball for an extended period, they were able to settle things down a little bit, take some of the sting out of Liverpool's attempts relentlessly to counter-attack. Yeah, but I'd probably pick Casemiro or Courtois.
Carvajal was very good as well, JJ, wasn't he?
Yes, he's very useful.
JJ's preparing to do
I'm
film a
doing
video
my-
immediately after this. He's going to do some analysis. What are some of the things you're going to say in your analysis?
I'm just looking at the things that we talked about. We thought would happen at the start of the game. So with the way both teams play and how Real's goal was scored, and we're talking about. Alex said earlier that the Real Madrid structure looks so weird. It doesn't look like it's a real structure to it. I'm just trying to find out what it was, and I think they're trying to get loads of players out wide. So when they're building, the goal starts with Liverpool trying to press them as they've got the ball back at the goal, in Real Madrid's half. The ball gets passed around a little bit and they get back into their shape, which is 2 centre backs, 1 anchor, which is Casemiro, 2 full backs. Carvalhal's doing this thing where he sneaks up, he times his runs to get farther forward as to be the winger at certain times. But Modric and Kroos, you think of them as being always in the centre of the pitch to control the middle of that. But in the build up to the goal, they're actually wide near the touchlines, both of them. And then you've got Vinicius Junior wide left, like slightly just west of one of them, and then you've got west. You've got Valverde slightly east of where Modric is, right? Benzema tucked in, and then what happens is that Liverpool are trying to press high up, and this is good practice actually because I know this is not making a lot of sense.
This is good.
Yeah, this is good. This is how the magic works, and then. They get the ball down the right and start working that way, and Carvajal and Modric can team up, and Modric does a little bit of a dance, pulls Robertson out of position. Robertson gets lost, which then leaves Liverpool with a back 3 because Alexander-Arnold naturally tucks in to make sure they've got that protected to have the distances and spacing covered. And then that means they've only got 3 in a row, and then they just attack that right-hand side because they've got the space missing. And then the defence aren't quite in line when the ball comes in for the goal.
Yeah. Quick shout out to Peaceful Paul Ansorge, who's in the comments. Don't worry, Paul. I will be watching West Side Story tomorrow for our film club.
Hello, Paul.
Very fun.
Oh, hello to my wife as well. I saw her wave in the chat. So
Yes.
she's still
Hello
watching.
to Seb's wife.
Hello to Seb's wife. Great stuff. Yeah. Why do I feel deflated? It was a quite exciting game.
already
The
feels like the
beginning of the game.
season's
It
finished,
does
that's
feel.
why.
Maybe that's what it is.
It feels like it's a friendly almost today.
Yeah.
Like everything was done last week.
Can I say at the beginning of the game, obviously there were the delays beforehand, and I think we've decided to kind of talk about that at a later stage because it's we'll read what other people
We
have,
want to know what the truth is.
read what the
first,
news is, and then we'll talk about it. But obviously there was a big delay to the game, and the first sort of 10-15 minutes of the game,
You weren't into it at all.
no, I found it very difficult to get into the game. It felt a little bit like a training game.
Yeah.
Second half was fantastic, but for some reason now I feel a little deflated about the final.
I suppose if you think about some of the games that we do remember from this season, so I think probably back to Liverpool Man City from a few weeks ago, some of Real's prior games in the Champions League, I think it's been a different nature contest.
Yes.
It's been a little bit more blockbustery.
It's unusual for them to go 1-0 up and then end the game like that. I think I sort of expected if Real Madrid were going to win. I said to you sort of
We
about
talked
20
before,
minutes in,
yeah.
Rodrigo will come on and score a goal in 83 minutes,
yes,
and that'll be it.
And
There wasn't a huge amount of drama in this game.
No, it was kind of, I suppose that the correct approach, the winning approach at least, was quite a docile one from Real. It's quite reactive. And so I suppose it's hard to get sort of fired up in a kind of adrenaline-y way as a result of that.
Yeah.
And also, let's be fair, there's been a lot of football.
Sure.
It might just be football fatigue.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were quite flat. I mean, you did say that you were bored 3 times in the first sort of 13 minutes.
It was boring. Alex, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Eduardo Camavinga.
Yeah.
Listen, they took Modric off at 85 minutes, and Seb sort of remarked saying, it's interesting we do that when you need to hold on to the ball. But Eduardo Camavinga had already come on, and at 19 years old, he's so good. There were 2 or 3 moments where he retained possession in a very difficult spot. At 19 years old, in a European Cup final.
Press resistance.
Oh, he's so good.
I think the thing that's really interesting about Camavinga is that because he has these physical attributes, and because if you look at his page on FB Ref, you see lots and lots of tackles, people assume he's a certain kind of player. And actually, some of the time that he does his most interesting work is pushing quite far up right half space, carrying the ball, not through the first line of pressure, but through the second or third. He's really, really good at doing that. And I think this is one of those interesting things with what Madrid, and we were all talking about how Ancelotti was likely to do this, is you have 2 quite slow, good tempo controlling midfielders passing the ball backwards and forwards in those moments when Real Madrid have possession up until 70 minutes or whatever. And then you bring on a completely different type of player in Camavinga, and he's not there to screen. He's not there to sit alongside Casemiro and defend. He's there to energetically progress the ball through his carrying, through his quick passing. And all of a sudden, Liverpool, who are pushing forwards, trying to squeeze a goal to take it to extra time, find themselves confronting a completely different sort of challenge in central midfield. And exactly the kind of person who is able to exploit their fullbacks bombing forwards or any gaps where they're leaving in behind because they're trying to squeeze the high lineup. So it was a really good, it was an obvious tactical choice because we all called it and we're not that good, but it was very, very clever.
JJ, Carlo Ancelotti now has won 4 Champions Leagues as a manager. We worked that out before. We got confused about which one of the 3 was, but it was just that he'd won twice with Milan, right? He has now won more Champions League trophies as a manager than any other. And I couldn't really tell you what he does or how he manages. It's not dissimilar to the conversation we were having about Real Madrid before. But what is it that's so good about him? Just that he's a good manager?
At its base level, I think it is that he just is a good manager and knows how to get the right players into the right positions. Like, you look at this Real Madrid team, it's at times it's sort of asymmetrical because you've got Vinicius Junior playing wide left. It's not a traditional structure. Like Alex said, it's not a traditional structure. It's where the players need to go, and then how do you support that by making other players do it? And he always talks about in his book. I've just started reading again.
Again,
Such a good book.
Yeah,
You
really
brought
like it,
it
yeah.
to the
Reading it
pub,
twice.
didn't you?
Yeah, it's really good. I brought it to the pub. Well, I was reading it on the way here. That's why. I wasn't trying to show it off or anything. What was that?
Oh, no, I wasn't implying that you were. I just thought it was a nice...
Some kind of...
I said, okay.
Let's see.
Grumpy,
Awkward ending for
grumpy.
Alex,
There we
this
go.
one, isn't it?
It's not as awkward as
The man who
earlier
loves
with
books.
Joe.
What did he do?
Gloss over that.
Yeah, it's quiet leadership. So what he does. So he says...
Quiet leadership.
I think the quote he says...
I should try that, shouldn't I?
Yes, you should try that, yeah. The things he's hired for are the things he is then eventually fired for.
Right.
So they hire him to be all quiet and nice and just make sure that everyone works well together and it comes together really nicely.
As I look at you, I'm thinking about that sentence you just said. And I'm thinking, could that be true of JJ Bull as well? Maybe it could.
What?
We hired you for an abundance of creativity, but it might be the abundance of creativity that is your end.
The Serie A
I'm just
team
in the
of
firing
season.
mood. We've already fired one. Can we fire another? How many could we fire before the end of the live stream?
Well, if the team
From
of the
the
season, the Serie A video is anything to go by, the views on that, do watch that video because that is just the kind of thing that we're talking about.
Let's talk about Liverpool now, Seb.
Yeah.
Speaking of failures, that's related to the video. It's more a joke about the video than it is a joke about the Liverpool team. Although they did technically fail in this game.
I feel like they didn't succeed.
No. There were a few... there are different players that we could discuss. It always feels a bit unfair to do that immediately after a Champions League final when you lose narrowly 1-0. And they played relatively well in the game. They created lots and lots of chances. As Alex has already said, many of those chances or those shots were on the lower end of the chance of scoring. But it just felt like they were slightly off all night. Great analysis, I know, but they were just a bit off the mark. They never really seemed, apart with the exception of Salah's out of this world touch for that for the shot that came off Thibaut Courtois' sort of inside elbow. They never really looked like totally good for it.
I suppose one of the hallmarks of Liverpool right at the apex of their form, that there's that power that they have, that kind of the intensity which kind of radiates off the pitch, which a lot of teams just can't handle. Like when some teams, particularly in England, when some teams are exposed to Liverpool, they make sort of really hard to explain mistakes. It's like they crack under the kind of the examination.
Yeah.
I felt that was missing a little bit tonight. Like we saw some sort of familiar patterns in Liverpool's play. Players having the ball in the right position. So Trent Alexander-Arnold having the ball where you'd want him to have the ball, and things happening in the areas ahead of him that you'd want to see, and Mo Salah coming in field, cutting from right to left. So these things are happening, and yet the end product isn't quite there. And part of that is Real defending extremely well. We've talked about that already. Let's not kind of make it into a Liverpool failure. But the thing is, like, if you think about how much football Liverpool have played, I think this has been in the mail a little bit for a few weeks. I mean, they weren't great against Wolves. They just about got there. They had a difficult time a couple of weeks before against Newcastle away. So they were competitive in the end of the title race, but there were sort of there were warning signs, I think. And I don't think that's
They won
hindsight
the other
speaking.
two finals on penalties as well, right?
So this is the story of a season which has stretched them to the absolute physical limit. And I think when you take away that physical intensity from Liverpool, even if it's just a couple of percentage points of it, they become I was going to say slightly less awesome, but awesome in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
Because you stand in front of Liverpool, like particularly Anfield, and you think, I can't handle this.
Yeah.
Even as a fan, when you watch your own team playing at Anfield, you think, I don't want to see this. This is awful. Like it's terrifying.
Sucks the ball in.
A little bit, but it's you don't trust your own team to stand up to it. Put it that way. And that wasn't there tonight. I didn't feel like. We talked about Real's aura and some of the intangibles. I feel like Real are the worst team for Liverpool to face in this kind of situation. Not going to be bowled over. They're not going to be fearful. They faced Klopp before. They faced a lot of these players already before, and they've beaten them in the final.
Yeah.
Okay, not Thiago, not Luis Diaz, but most of them they've seen already and dealt with already. And I feel that was kind of pertinent tonight, even if you can't really measure or quantify it properly.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? The goal comes from a throw-in. Starts with a throw-in.
Yeah. Ebu Toy was very, very upset with me for not letting you finish talking about Carlo Ancelotti, JJ. So can you finish what you were saying? And let's all listen closely and carefully.
He's a nice man. He is good.
Is that you're not going to dig me out of the hole I'm in?
I mean,
with
what are we going
Ebu
to add
Toy?
to it? Like, you'd have to go through all his teams. He's happened to manage very good players, so that's the thing. So he built, like, he was at Reggiana first, I think. He said his first 7 games were a bit of a disaster. He was learning what he was doing. He just finished playing. He got offered to be Arrigo Sacchi's assistant in Italy, turned that down to go and work at Reggiana, and retired as a player. Then he went to Parma, and I think he got Reggiana promoted to Serie A, and then he went to Parma, where they just happened to have a team that had Buffon and I think it was Cannavaro and Thuram were the 2 centre backs.
Yeah,
it's not bad. I mean, they were young.
okay.
They were young, so he's had to manage that. But they had players like, I think it was like Diego Fuser was there. They have, and he signed Hernan Crespo. He scouted him. His scouting was says that he saw that Crespo was the top scorer in the Olympics, so I will buy them. And then,
for people who don't know, go and look up that Parma team as well.
Oh, it's amazing. You can see them all in Football Manager or Championship Manager. Was it?
Yeah.
And he goes from that, and then he gets. I think he goes to AC first, wasn't it? And then he does about 8 years there. He gets the 2 European Cup finals. He helps build a team, but they were a big club then. But that was also when Serie A, the teams who was in the best one was swapping every 3 years or so. Had a really good run with them. Went to Juventus, did all right. And that's the thing, like you get that level, and then suddenly you start swapping clubs. So he's getting like Paris Saint-Germain. They went for him to try and turn them into what they are now. Yeah. Chelsea, like good players he had, but he won the double there before he got fired, right?
I think
Juve.
when you look back though, if you think about the kind of personalities
said
he's
you missed
managed,
it.
particularly like Chelsea, you go into that dressing room and think of the difficulties other coaches had there. There's someone like Andre Villas-Boas, but even higher profile people. Like you deal with players who've won a lot, deal with players who are tremendously important internationally, and yet he handles it.
Well, like a lot of managers like Mourinho, you think of him particularly. It's all about the passion and energy and the connection with the players. Whereas Ancelotti, to the best of my knowledge, has always sort of been exactly the same. So he's sort of,
in what sense?
Like quiet, just a step back to have a composed thought, and then delivering it with clear, leadership. I've not been in his dressing room before, so I don't know exactly how he delivers his team talks. But I'd imagine the way he goes about things has been the same most of the way through his career. He'll develop certain things and change certain systems and whatever he likes, but the way he talks to people seems to be sort of similar all the way through. Whereas you've got a manager who's best when they're young. It's all about the energy and the connection. How old's Ancelotti now? How old's Don Carlo?
Well, you know what's interesting about that is that if you think about the timescale we're talking about and how long he's been around, like the modern player's personality has changed a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Arsene Wenger talked about this, how it's the challenge of coaching players today is different to what it was 15, 20 years ago, because the wealth, the status, the celebrity, all these kind of things. And yet Ancelotti has essentially made the same style of management work over 2 decades, which is an achievement in itself, really.
Yeah, it's Ben Littleton's book Edge talks about this.
Yes.
And how Didier Deschamps is one of the best at being able to relate to the younger generation of players and cross over that divide to a degree. And I think the thing with Ancelotti is that people down, and it's interesting, this was the case with Zidane as well. It's kind of like, you can win the Champions League with Real Madrid.
A
If you're
lot
not
of
a
European
particularly
Cups.
tactical manager, they're not great tacticians. They're just good with people. But you do have to prove yourself to be good tactically, and let's not forget he played under people like Arrigo Sacchi when he was at Milan. So he's been exposed to proper tactics, but he's developed this kind of avuncular, almost collaborative style. In the last game, he was on the pitch side talking to his players. Like that's his thing, and so big egos will look at someone who's won 2 European Cups as a player, won Serie A 3 times, is a nice guy, and think, yeah, okay, we'll see what happens with this. It's probably going to be fine, unless it's that there are always going to be some egos that are problematic. But
here's a question for you, Alex. Thinking of Liverpool players that did play well, Ibrahima Konate stands out to me. I mean, he was tremendous throughout the game. He's been a fantastic signing, hasn't he?
Yeah. This physicality and awesomeness that Seb was referring to earlier that Liverpool tend to have in attack. Konate was trying to bring that in defence, muscling Vinicius Junior off the ball, really carrying it, kind of galloping into open spaces with it, and trying to be energetic. And it's that sort of, yes, there are deficiencies to his game in certain respects. He's not a great in-box defender at the moment, but in terms of covering wide spaces, pushing forwards, using his pace and his physical size to push players off the ball, when if he doesn't do that, it could be really dangerous. He came from a Leipzig side where he was playing on the halfway line pretty much the entire time anyway, so it's going to take him time to adapt to defending a bit deeper. But in every other facet of his game, he's really, really good. And I thought he played excellently this evening.
So we were saying as the game began that with Konate in the back line alongside Van Dijk, Liverpool now have a back four, which I feel like will be remembered forever. Beforehand, it always felt like Van Dijk, and not to discredit Joe Gomez and Joel Matip, but
it was a bit sort of Virgil van Dijk and the Liverpool defence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas now
sure.
it just look. I mean, I appreciate they've just lost the European final, but that back four is extraordinary.
Yeah, because we're noticing individual traits of another defender. So whereas previously everybody was kind of an extension of Van Dijk, now we remember, yes, they lost, but we remember the way Konate closed on Vinicius Junior when he cut inside across the box. You just thought, no one catches up when Vinicius has done that. That's the shooting opportunity. And yet it was almost like there was a glitch in the coverage. We just think, well, you've just swallowed 3 yards and, the chance is gone. It was amazing. But now you're noticing him in his own right rather than just as a part of the system. And that's really what you want, because you talked about, before we started recording, you talked about Ferdinand and Vidic, and you think, yeah, they were a great pair, but why each of them individually was great. And that's kind of true of most great defenses. And Konate's just, like Alex said, he's nowhere close to being at the full extent of his potential, which is kind of frightening.
Well, the other thing, to compare those two defenses as well, the other thing with Ferdinand and Vidic is that whilst they did have Evra to the left of them, there was never really a consistent right back in that team that made it a full four.
Right. So
Raphael, I guess, was there for most of the time.
Post Gary Neville era where it became a little bit tenuous.
Valencia at times.
Yeah, for sure. I think John O'Shea played there a couple of times as well.
Wes Brown.
Wes Brown started European Cup final.
Sure.
Yeah, he did.
Chelsea.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but I think when you have that definition, I think one of the other things about Liverpool was when you had Van Dijk there and you thought, well, I can just stick somebody else there and it will be fine because he was that good and he remains that good. But it's another little aspect of Liverpool squad planning which is interesting, because we've talked a bit about sort of Luis Diaz's effect and Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott, all these players that kind of are going to provide attacking solutions. Diego Jota. When you have Konate, you're thinking, okay, well, there's your succession plan. Jota. Yeah. There's your succession plan already. So you can transition away from Virgil van Dijk when age catches up with him, and then you've got this guy who's nowhere near his prime yet, ready to step in and be the centerpiece of your defense, which is hugely valuable.
JJ, here's a question for you now. Are you ready for it?
Yeah,
I know you're
I'm
busy
really
working
busy,
and actually not really appearing on the live stream, but here's a question for you. A twofold question. One, beginning. Mbappe obviously has chosen not to sign for Real Madrid and to sign an extension at PSG for the next 3 years. So part A of my question is, it's very, I suppose, important for Real Madrid, and it means a little bit more and is more significant that they just won this cup final instead of losing, right? The other thing is that this has been in the news a lot recently as well, and I've seen a couple of graphs illustrating this floating around on Twitter. Apologies, I can't remember who posted them, but the gulf, the financial gulf between the Premier League and the other European leagues is enormous. We know. Is continuing to grow, with Liverpool and Manchester City as being described as the two best teams in Europe. It's also a bit of a statement that Real Madrid win this final as well at a time when that's happening.
In what sense that shows that they are still the big ones because they are the global
It shows that they're still relevant, right?
I mean, them and Barcelona are still the biggest clubs probably in the world. They're the most glamorous and famous. I mean, Real Madrid are the most successful team in history, aren't they? So that makes perfect sense. Spain is a nice part of the world to live in. It is nice and warm, so you can play football in the sun and not have to worry about being in
England,
in England, basically. For parts of the year, they don't want to have to be there. It's also a gentler kind of football, so you can play nice tippy-tappy stuff and do all the dribbles because you can actually get away with that there.
No, I read something really interesting in a piece on The Athletic about Erling Haaland, which it will be coming out as a Tifo video soon as well. But one of the interesting things about that, as it related to the Haaland transfer, him arriving at Manchester City, part of the reason why he thought that Real Madrid might be more preferential for him is because he thought he'd be injured less of the time because the league was a little bit less demanding than it might be in the UK. Apparently, he was won over by the fact that Guardiola rests anyone whenever he wants to, and whereas in Real Madrid he'd probably be playing all
a lot of
the
his
time,
key
every
players,
game.
Guardiola's this year, were only playing like 24, 25 games. There's a few of them, like Cancelo was like 33, I think, but generally they were in and out to make sure they're rotated so they're all fresh and ready to go. I also think the Mbappe thing is interesting because I can see the strategic sense in what he's done. And that, what age is he now? 22, I think.
22.
Right? So
He'll be 25 when that contract ends.
Exactly. So he's still going to be in his prime.
And he's going to go to Real Madrid.
He's not going to lose his athleticism in that 3 years, I wouldn't have thought, unless he
hope
gets
not.
loads of bad hamstring injuries. The only thing I can think would do it. He's still a good player without it. So then he can go to Real Madrid anyway. They might be in a traditional, like they've won this trophy now, but they might start to transition into whatever they're going to be next, like whatever the next form, Charizard next, right?
Sure.
So then they're going to have to...
Is this been Charmeleon for the last 10 years?
Is that the second one?
Charmeleon's the second one.
Charmander's
the first one.
So the final form is Charizard, so that's what we're going to see next.
Right.
And that'll be really good. So he'll be part of that.
Will that be good?
God, this makes perfect sense.
Charizard will be good.
Charizard's going to be really good. And Mbappe will be part of that. And then he gets to play in Paris a little bit longer, to be the main man. Also, Benzema is the main striker. So if he goes to Real Madrid, he can't be the 9 because it's going to be Benzema for the next little while.
It's true.
You don't have to play him off the wing because Vinicius Junior's got that left wing spot nailed down now. You just play there as a right winger. Doesn't what I'd have to do that.
You don't want to move Vinicius at the moment. He's playing so well.
No, exactly. You wouldn't. I mean, I don't doubt they'll find someone else they can take in to fill the gaps.
Fine.
Yeesh.
That's your moving on face.
Well, yeah. Do you want to say anything else? I feel like we've sort of covered the final, fairly well. I mean, I don't necessarily feel like that, but I feel like I haven't got any other questions to ask.
Should ask Alex stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have got things for Alex. But I don't know if Alex wants to talk about... Do we need to talk about football anymore?
Oh, we've done so much of that over the last few years.
We have done a lot of it, haven't we?
I mean,
quite
most of the
tired.
time
We're done
we're
now.
here, we talk about
You got
football.
anything you want to say about this game before we move on?
It was fine.
It was fine. Okay. Well, listen.
What an exit.
What an exit. Actually, this is a good point. This is your last opportunity. And for those of you asking in the chat, it was announced on the last podcast, and Alex mentioned this on Twitter, but he will be departing Tifo. It's quite a sad situation, actually, because he has been fired. We did have to fire him for reasons I won't go into.
Just don't tell them why.
I won't say why. Don't worry.
They're all under a strict.
Yeah, I won't say why, but he has been fired from his job, and actually his family have excommunicated him as well. So that happened as well. But you can't get everything you want in life. So, Alex, this is your last opportunity to do some good analysis on Tifo football.
Right.
So take it if you want.
I thought I was coming back for podcasts.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But look at this camera and say something really smart about football that sounds smart that people can remember forever.
Football's great, isn't it?
I thought you'd have something better than that.
So did I, to be honest.
I mean, I
Bit
wasn't
of a
prepared.
letdown.
We have some.
We do. Listen, I'm going to say to the chat now, there's 3,000 of you here. If you were here to listen to us talk about football, that's finished now. And you'll have to either bear with us being self-indulgent for the next 5 to 10 minutes or leave.
There'll be a video tomorrow morning or in the middle of the morning.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah,
JJ's preparing an analysis of the game for you all to watch and enjoy. But if you don't want to see us saying goodbye to Alex for the next 5 minutes and not talking about football at all, then now's the time to leave. Now's the time to leave the chat. There we go. Now, Alex Stewart, I was trying to think of a gift to get you after firing you from your job. Because that's the customary thing, isn't it? When you fire someone, you give them a gift to kind of smooth the exit a little bit.
You give them the gift and then you sack them. You hand them the gift and
they get excited. Nice, this is really nice.
Yeah, bad news though.
The rub is you are fired.
There'll be good and bad news.
I couldn't think of anything good, so instead I've got several things that I guess I'll hand down the table to.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't want to. Yeah.
The first thing to say is they're in this lovely Waitrose bag,
framing,
which you can take the Waitrose bag with you.
Oh, okay, thank
you.
you.
So you can carry them home that way. Now, in a sort of slightly confusing slightly confusing order. Here we go. I'm not opening the gift. I'm not opening it. I'm just getting it out so that people can. What kind of box is this?
I mean, you
cardboard. Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Oh.
See, this is nice.
Okay. That's a nice one.
This is nice. These are 2 deep sleep candles.
Okay, that's lovely.
Deep sleep. I
like
because
candles.
you've been treating people to deep sleep for about 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
Every time you talk, and I thought we could give you back the favour of deep sleep.
Has anyone here seen the episode of The Office where Michael Scott sings a song to say goodbye to Toby?
Will you pass those down to Alex, please? The deep sleep candles.
Because we're about to get a live version of that.
There we go. There's the deep sleep candles.
Okay.
Okay.
Do I not get to keep the box as well, or?
Oh, you can keep the box. Yeah,
Okay,
I'll give you the
fair.
box
That's really
afterwards.
nice.
Yeah.
In no particular order. This is a book
I like that.
for you. It's called Get Laid Off, Tips for Coping with Layoffs. And I know that being let go from any job can be difficult for people.
Yeah.
And I didn't want you to struggle emotionally after.
Thank you.
Sorry again. But this book does have tips that will help you deal with it.
Okay.
Just taking a random excerpt here.
Yeah.
That's a boring one.
How have you never seen the inside of an employment tribunal? How's that?
Chapter 6, investing in yourself.
Oh.
I feel like that could be good because you're going to go on to be a sort of, just out there around.
Just stuff.
And
just,
investing in yourself.
yeah.
So there you go. Pass that down,
Well,
Seb, will you?
the self-care that these candles will. Thank you.
Deep sleep. Yeah.
Did Don make this on Photoshop?
This is an inflatable crocodile. JJ suggested this. JJ, did you have any deeper reason why you suggested the inflatable crocodile?
You may or may not be surprised to learn it was the first thing I thought of.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought, Alex, what would he like? And I thought something you could swim with.
Yeah. The child on the front of the box looks very happy. So that's something.
Are you
be.
open to relocating?
I hope so.
What
You certainly haven't been for the last
areas
year or two.
are you open to?
Now
What are
listen.
yeah. Sorry.
One more thing here.
Thank you, JJ.
That's all right.
This does feel very you.
Actually,
I thought you'd like that.
3 more things. I know that you. I mean, I know you're a huge fan of this person. This is the person you like more than anyone else in the world. He's your hero. So
Is it a picture of you?
no, it's not. That would have been
Alright.
good though.
We did
Yeah.
think
That would have been good. It's too late. This is signed. It's signed.
Right.
Is it actually?
It is signed.
is
Look.
actually, yeah.
This is a signed photo of Orlando Bloom as Legolas. Right? Because Alex's favourite person
Yeah.
is Orlando Bloom. And again, the quality you can see.
It's
Yeah?
There's no way you could even fake that.
Pass that down.
doesn't look fake to me at
Good
all.
news is there was a deal. So I also got you Iron Man, signed by Iron Man. Well, signed by Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man.
Wow.
Yeah?
Look at the intensity in his
I know.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So pass that down.
That's
Yeah. This
I
is
feel
just
like these are all so specifically meaningful to me.
No, they are. Yeah.
And
This
that's how I
one
know
is.
we've
I
been
like
colleagues
how
for
This
so
one
long.
is.
Oh,
This
okay.
is a raccoon
Iron Man.
notepad.
Oh, yeah.
Because I thought,
yeah,
you know,
just
can't
a
be a
nod
dick with
to
all
that
the
thing.
gifts. But this is lined paper.
Oh,
Hope
we'll
that's all
love
right.
that.
Raccoon.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's
Beautiful.
very nice.
Thank you so
And
much.
a nice happy raccoon, not like the ones you post online all the time, but like a nice happy one. Yeah.
Yeah. God, I'm building up quite a pile here. It's just like,
Here's a mug that says, "Today I don't feel like doing anything, except Orlando Bloom." I'd do here. Because again, I don't know if people remember from before.
Yeah.
But Orlando Bloom is Alex's here.
literally my favorite human. Yeah.
Pass that down. There is one more gift. And this is a very special. This is a very special gift.
He's so handsome.
I'm quite looking forward to getting fired now.
This is a very special gift.
Is anyone still watching this?
The most special. Actually,
Just
oddly
nearly
enough,
3,000 people. Have been
yeah,
watching.
What's
yeah.
3,000
About 200 people
people?
decided
It
no.
seems to have grown since we stopped
It's a
talking about
Saturday night. You people should be doing something else.
Now, let me tell you, this is one of the most
Okay.
special gifts.
Okay.
Surprisingly cheap
I
for
don't
the
remember what this
quality.
one
Is it a lock of Orlando's hair?
Well, it is sort of Orlando related, kind of. Now, do you remember, as I'm sure you will, in Orlando's Lord of the Rings,
Yeah,
all the little hobbits, they don't wear these little cloaks, don't they? These little cloaks
that's right.
to keep them warm
Yeah,
because they're only small
yeah.
and it's a dangerous road out there. And Orlando wears one of these as well to keep his cloak on.
Right.
And it's this little leaf. No, come on now. This little leaf. Oh, it's broken. Oh, no, it isn't. This little leaf brooch necklace.
Oh, that's beautiful.
You could wear it as a brooch
Yeah,
or as a necklace. Yeah?
yeah.
And it will help you remember Orlando. And when you wear it, let it help keep the cape of good hope on your body. Yeah?
Thank you. Yeah.
So we'll pass that down now.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm going to put that on.
Pop it on now.
Now.
Actually, there's a little bag that comes with
sachet,
it as
yeah.
well.
That's very nice.
There you go.
Oh,
Pass the
yes.
bag down.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Not without the bag.
Feels
JJ.
authentic.
Not without the
And
bag.
did you want this
Oh, yes.
candle box as well?
I mean, I'll probably just put them in my rucksack.
I'll give you the Waitrose bag. Good thing about this bag as well, just a quick one, bit sad to see this bag go, doubles as a tuck-in bag.
Yeah.
You know when you tuck those bags into the little thing, like this?
I don't.
Oh,
It's got a little corner on it.
Talking about.
You shove the bag into the little smaller bag, like so,
Oh, that is cool.
and then you tie it up, and then it's a little thing.
Someone in the live chat. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, Rec. I've seen.
I think we
Orlando
weren't
Bloom.
swearing on the live stream, Alex. But just one more box coming at you. There we go. Good catch.
Thank you. Well, that was an extremely meaningful and moving collection of gifts.
I try to only get you things that would be meaningful,
that would resonate with
that would
me
have meaning
on a almost spiritual level.
Yeah.
You agonised over those gifts.
I did agonise over
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, you spent a long time talking about that.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
I
Okay.
feel
Well, listen,
that.
Alex. Again, look at the cam. Well, we should say to you first, it's been great. Yeah.
Sure has.
Most of the time, it's been good.
Largely fine.
Again, I am sorry that I've had to let you go.
Yeah.
But these
Can
things
I just
happen.
say you handled that with real dignity?
Thank you.
though?
Yeah. Quiet leadership.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Like Don Carlo.
Don Carlo. But the real people who've enabled you to be here for 4 or 5 years, obviously it's me, but other than me is the camera, right? Is
Yeah.
all the people at home that are watching now, the 2,721 people dropping by the second who
Literally.
have been watching. Yeah, it's 20 now. One's just left.
Yeah.
Who've been watching your stuff here for a long time.
Yeah.
Enabling you to maintain until I took the decision out of their hands.
Yeah.
If you wanted to look at the camera and if you've got anything to say to those people, now's the
Now's
time.
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Great.
It was great. I enjoyed it.
Okay. Good. And Seb and JJ, would you like to give Alex a parting message at all, Seb?
I shall miss you terribly. Good luck. Godspeed.
He's taken all the messages, JJ. So you've got one fewer thing to say now, but off you go.
I was going to make a song, but then I didn't.
Yeah.
And so
You are quite busy at the moment. Although I know
fine.
the T-shirt was a nice touch.
Oh yeah, I've made
Thank
2
you.
T-shirts with Alex's face on,
There we go.
And I'll treasure this.
just as a sign of how much I value his input. In fact, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for
It
Alex.
is a
'cause
great
he's the one that
T-shirt.
started it, yeah.
True.
If it wasn't for Alex, I wouldn't be here to ruin Tifo for you. So
There you go.
Why is
Yeah.
that
There you
the
go.
case?
because you were the one that said I should work here. Remember
Yeah.
we did the podcast.
Oh, yeah. No, that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, the chat's screaming, thank you, Alex. There we
Well,
go.
thank you. Yes.
Yeah. I think you should leave now, and we'll clap you off. Yeah. Do go though.
Okay.
And again, there is security outside. We'll meet you just to make sure you've left the building.
Yeah.
But
We'll post your belongings as well. But you don't need to collect those.
I don't have any.
and Don, I think the key would be to just probably have 45 minutes on the empty chair for the live stream. I'd say at the end there. Yeah. Yeah. No, seriously, do leave the room. And he's gone. He's gone. He's gone.
Can I do my video now?
Don't know what to do now.
I wanted to do my tactical analysis
Do you
video.
want to just carry on with the live stream? He'll just be sat outside waiting. We could keep this going. See how long he waits to say goodbye to us.
I'm
He's
so
got his last
tired.
train to catch, though.
Yeah,
We should
exactly.
probably, All right. Well, there we go. Seb Stafford Blore, thank you.
Thank you, Joe Devine.
JJ Bull, the Bullard, purveyor of truth, thank you.
I'm always right.
Yes. Don, producer Don, thanks very much.
And to Orlando Bloom.
And to Orlando Bloom. Yeah. Thank you, Orlando Bloom. There's Don's lovely hand. Look at that. What a lovely hand
Really
that
nice
is.
hand.
Yeah. And to Orlando Bloom, thanks for all the years of service to acting. You've been you're a national treasure, I have to say. I think your turn as Legolas was just sublime.
I want to thank him for all his hobbit ways.
His hobbit ways.
Yeah.
Well, he was an elf, but yeah.
Well, all his magical powers that he has. Did he have magical powers? Orlando Bloom, not the character of the elf. I bet Orlando Bloom does.
Orlando Bloom himself.
Yeah.
I'm sure he does. Well, do you know he has the magical power of causing me to be compelled to watch him?
Yes, because you like all the elves,
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
little hobbits.
All right. Well, Crannied Brown says, "Are they trying to be funny?" Question mark. So, yes. What was your name? Crammed. Yes, we are.
I'm not really. I'm just trying to have fun with you guys. I don't really care.
I was trying to be funny with the
about-
gift giving.
Oh yeah.
I thought the gift giving.
Oh, that
I
was
think
funny.
it was
though.
funny.
But
Yeah,
that was funny for
I
us.
know.
Bit
Yeah.
before, yeah,
We didn't have to. We didn't have to let you see that crammed.
yeah,
Yeah.
good stuff.
We could have just kept that to ourselves, but we shared it.
All right, should we end now?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Thanks everyone. See you later.
Bye.
We'll be back for live
Bye.
streaming in
Have a nice
World Cup
weekend.
time. So, but we'll be doing the podcast on Monday.